In the chill of April 1945, under a leaden sky heavy with the promise of spring rain, a group of German women auxiliaries huddled in the muddy courtyard of a forsaken barracks near the Rhine. The air carried the acrid scent of distant artillery smoke, mingling with the damp earth and the faint, lingering odor of cordite from spent shells. Their uniforms, threadbare and soaked, clung to weary frames as boots splashed through puddles, echoing the erratic thump of hearts gripped by uncertainty. These women, once clerks, radio operators, and anti-aircraft spotters in the Wehrmacht Corps, now faced the advancing rumble of American tanks, their faces pale masks of dread in the fading light of a collapsing empire. This moment, etched in the final throes of the European theater, marked a pivotal fracture in the grand narrative of World War II. As Allied forces surged across Germany in the spring of 1945, the Third Reich's meticulously constructed facade of invincibility shattered. The capture of these women was no isolated incident. It was part of a broader sweep that saw over 425,000 German prisoners of war funneled into American custody by war's end. These auxiliaries, numbering in the thousands among the captured, had been mobilized in desperation as Hitler's regime faltered, filling roles traditionally held by men to bolster a crumbling front. Their imprisonment underscored the war's inexorable shift from the blitzkrieg offensives of 1939 to 1941, where Germany overran Poland, France, and the Low Countries with mechanical precision, to the defensive agony of 1944-1945, when the Allies reversed the tide. The Normandy landings in June 1944 had pierced the Atlantic Wall, and by early 1945, Operation Lumberjack had bridged the Rhine, sealing the fate of the Reich. For these women, this courtyard surrender symbolized not just personal defeat, but the unraveling of a totalitarian ideology that had ensnared a nation, promising eternal victory yet delivering only ruin. It mattered because it exposed the human underbelly of propaganda's iron grip, revealing how ordinary individuals, bound by duty and deception, confronted the reality of their indoctrination. What these German women expected in those tense hours was a nightmare forged in the fires of Nazi rhetoric. Goebbels' Ministry of Propaganda had painted the Americans as savage brutes, descendants of a decadent democracy intent on annihilation. Whispers in the barracks had warned of rape, torture, and summary executions tales, amplified by radio broadcasts and leaflets depicting Yankee soldiers as rapacious monsters, their bombs indiscriminate harbingers of civilian slaughter. One auxiliary, later documented in declassified U.S. Army reports, recalled the drilled mantra, "The Amos will show no mercy. They fight like animals, driven by Jewish capitalists to erase the Aryan race." Expectation bred terror. Many clutched hidden cyanide capsules prepared for a fate worse than death, their minds replaying images from films like Judd Seuss that vilified the Allies as subhuman. Yet, as American GIs encircled the courtyard, rifles at the ready but voices calm, reality diverged sharply. Instead of brutality, there came orders in broken German for orderly surrender. Hands raised, the women were searched with professional detachment, their weapons confiscated without malice. Transported in trucks to temporary holding areas, they encountered not vengeance but efficiency. Blankets distributed against the cold and, astonishingly, a simple ration of white bread soft, fresh, and abundant, a stark contrast to the ersatz loaves of sawdust and potatoes they had subsisted on for months. This bread, recurring in their memories like a talisman of unforeseen plenty, symbolized the American ethos of abundance, a democratic largesse that seemed impossible in their starved world. Historical records from the U.S. War Department's Provost Marshal General's Office paint a vivid picture of this treatment. By mid-1945, German POWs, including these female auxiliaries, were processed under strict adherence to the 1929 Geneva Convention, which mandated humane conditions, medical care, and equitable rations. In camps scattered across the United States from Fort Douglas in Utah to Camp Concordia in Kansas, women were segregated in dedicated barracks, often repurposed from military facilities. Data from the International Red Cross inspections reveal that mortality rates among German POWs in American hands hovered below 1%, a figure dwarfed by the over 50% death toll in Soviet camps. One report from October 1944 details the arrival of a contingent of Wehrmachtdelfern at a Midwest facility. 200 women, exhausted from marches through war-torn Europe, received immediate medical examinations. Bruises and malnutrition were treated with penicillin, a miracle drug unknown to many Germans, in plasma transfusions that saved lives where Nazi medicine had failed. A captured nurse, Ilse Schultz, an Iron Cross recipient from the Cherbourg front, documented in her post-war memoir how she was assigned to work in an American evacuation hospital. Expecting slave labor, she found collaborative duties, witnessing surgical techniques that preserved limbs rather than amputating them as in German field hospitals. "We had been told of American weakness," she wrote, "but their supplies were endless gauze, morphine, even chocolate in the rations. That chocolate, wrapped in foil and handed out casually by guards, became another echo of the bread's symbolism, a sweet indulgence representing the fruits of a free society, where innovation and plenty flowed from democratic ingenuity rather than autocratic scarcity. The emotional chasm between expectation and experience deepened as days turned to weeks. In the freezing winter of 1944-1945, as recounted in oral histories archived at the U.S. National Archives, a group of auxiliaries whispered among themselves in a holding pen, 'We can't feel our feet,' their boots caked in ice from forced marches. American soldiers, defying the propagandist's portrait of cruelty, responded with heated tents and wool socks, actions that elicited bewildered tears. Another account from Camp Opelika in Alabama describes German women encountering Black American troops for the first time, guards from segregated units like the 92nd Infantry Division. Nazi ideology had demonized them as inferior, yet these soldiers stood in disciplined formation, offering water and directions with impartial courtesy. Their faces were impassive. One prisoner later testified at Nuremberg-related proceedings, but their actions spoke of a humanity we had been taught did not exist. Factual logs from the 45th Evacuation Hospital note how captured DRK Schwestern, German Red Cross sisters, like Gret Falk, seized in North Africa in 1943, were integrated into medical teams. They handled plasma banks and antibiotics, marveling at a system that treated enemy wounded with the same vigor as allies. Declassified memos reveal that by 1945, over 371,000 German POWs, including medical personnel, experienced this care across 200 facilities. With rations calibrated at 2,800 to 30,600 calories daily, nearly triple what German civilians endured under rationing. One poignant entry from a Utah camp diary records a woman auxiliary's reaction to her first hot shower. "Soap, real soap, lathering under warm water, wept not from pain, but from the release of fear." This transformation was not merely physical, it eroded the ideological foundations of their worldview. Indoctrinated in the Hitler Youth and League of German Girls, these women had internalized the Führer's vision of racial superiority and eternal struggle. Yet, in American camps, they witnessed a pluralistic society in microcosm. Guards from diverse backgrounds enforcing rules fairly, without the Gestapo's terror. Post-liberation screenings of concentration camp footage, as mandated by the U.S. Army's Special Projects Division, provoked profound shifts. At Camp Butner, North Carolina, over 1,000 prisoners, including auxiliaries, viewed reels of Dachau and Buchenwald horrors, leading some to burn their uniforms in ritualistic rejection of Nazism. "We had believed in the Reich's purity," one anonymous account states, "but the abundance here, the bread, freely given, without coercion, showed us a different strength, born of freedom." Educational programs, though met with resistance from die-hard Nazis who organized work stoppages, exposed them to banned literature and American newspapers like Der Ruf, fostering quiet doubts. By repatriation in 1946 and 1947, many had undergone subtle metamorphoses, from viewing democracy as weak to recognizing its resilience. U.S. surveys indicated that while formal re-education failed to convert most, the lived experience of equitable treatment planted seeds of change. One woman, Lena Schmidt, a captured clerk with a bruised hip from her capture, received a straw-filled cushion from an American sergeant. "A small act that hurt when I sit" became a metaphor for the pain of ideological upheaval. That cushion, paired with the recurring gift of fresh bread, symbolized how American democracy nourished not just bodies but souls, contrasting the Reich's famine of spirit. As the war's dust settled, these women's stories wove into the broader tapestry of post-war reckoning. Repatriated to a divided Germany, many carried tales of American mercy that challenged the lingering shadows of propaganda. In the ruins of Berlin, where women outnumbered men 3-1 due to battlefield losses exceeding 5 million, these former prisoners became quiet ambassadors of transformation. Their experiences highlighted the war's ironic reversals, the supposed decadent West proving more humane than the superior Axis. Factual data from the International Committee of the Red Cross confirms that U.S. camps maintained standards that saved lives, with only 1,121 German POW deaths from all causes, mostly disease compared to millions in other theaters. In the quiet epilogue of history, these tears shed by German women Prisoners' tears, not of despair, but of dawning relief, whisper a profound truth. When told they were no longer prisoners of fear, unbound from the chains of propaganda's dread, they glimpsed the enduring light of freedom. That simple loaf of bread, handed across the divide of enmity, became more than sustenance. It embodied the abundance of a world where democracy thrives not through force, but through the quiet power of humanity. In its soft crumb lay the ideology of plenty for all, a poetic reminder that true strength emerges not from tyranny's grip, but from the open hand of liberty, forever altering the soul's perception of what it means to be free.